Hi and welcome to a new episode of Omega 365 Release Notes.
Yes, and in today's episode we're going to have a look at some general updates related to access management, meetings, documents, planning, cost and contracts. On the home page we have this WhatsApp section where you see some small tweets, and these you can control from this app. And a new feature we have now is that you can choose to pin some of these until a certain date, so then they will stay on top of that list until this date expires. Okay, and another thing is in this org unit lookup, you will see it when you're selecting context and other places where you can select among org units. We now have support also for pinning here. So as you can see, these three here are marked as gray and will stay on top always because I have pinned them. I can unpin, of course. And if I want to have this one on top, I pin and it appears on top.
Very efficient, especially when you have multiple or many org units.
Yes.
Even if you have your recent list, but you can also then pin them. Very nice.
Another general thing is these import templates that we have in several apps. They now come with some example data you can import here, but let me show the template. Document import, document plan import in this specific case, but as I said, it's also available other places. And yeah, if I go to the example sheet, you will see the example data here. Making it clearer what we expect from like here, fulfill requirements. It's a boolean. It should come as 0 or 1.
Yep.
The date, so that it's clear what is the date format. And yeah, so I think it could be to some help for those using these import features.
Yep. Also showing how the length of the field.
Yes.
As well. Yeah.
When it comes to access, you have these roles app system roles where you can see which apps that and you can define which apps and tables, etc. the users have access to, or the members of that role have access to. We have added now activity groups and incident types so that you can see that also from this app.
Yeah, in addition to the workflow processes, document group, etc. So you can get an overview, which this role has been used around in the solution. Yeah.
Yes. In meetings, we do now have support for closing agenda item, and you can choose when copying if you want to include the closed items or agenda items or not. In documents distribution setup, we now support that you can use this code types that we have. It helps you kind of making sure that you have all the flexibility you need for your document coding system. So when defining the filter criteria for who should receive or what kind of documents should be distributed to this group, you can specify like here document type LAI, but I could also select now among those code types that we have available, and one of the code types we defined in this instance is SFI code. It could be this is a client specific coding. In the document register, we now have the possibility to bulk update also the confidential setting on a document. So if you want to set it to confidential or remove the confidential setting, you can now mark those documents that is to be applied to, and then choose bulk update, as you know for many of the other fields. It's also possible now to set the review deadline directly from this grid. And from the documentation manual concept, you have the possibility to have such a public app like we have here in Omega, and there we have the possibility now to download the whole manual as a zip file, or you can download the whole area, and the whole area, that's this here, right?
Yes, yep, correct.
So then you get the PDF file in all the PDF files in a zip.
Yep.
Planning, we've worked on this workspaces concept. So when you're going to work with a schedule, you have to go to workspaces, and in there it's now an explanation on how this concept works with the workspaces. You can, you will see here the main workspace. If I want to edit that one, I click here, but it's also a possibility to create a new main workspace, which basically means that you will take over it. And you can also set one of the other workspaces that has been created as the main workspace that you can do from here. And you have the possibility to create scenarios, which is possible from here. If you want to work with the main workspace, you click on this one and you get up the schedule like this, and you now have the possibility to do the changes you want to, as we looked at before. And another thing that has been done then is that when you do changes, to get them saved back to the activity register, you have to commit. So if you change the WS element or basically everything, to get them saved back to the activity register, you have to commit. Before it was a mixture, some changes were saved directly to the activity register. Now it's a clear cut. You have to commit to get them saved back to the activities register. And then these values will not be updatable from the activities register while you have kind of checked them out in a way of working with them in a workspace.
Yeah.
Okay, and we've done a little change in cost when it comes to when you change to a new cutoff. The system will automatically now copy the previous values, so you start from the cumulative values from previous period, so then you can adjust. So instead of starting with completely blank, it basically just shows you the cumulative values from previous cutoff. So the periodic values, of course, are 0, so but you start from with the previous cutoff's values. Finally, in contract, we have done some updates related to how to control access to these elements. We have now a dedicated capability to allow users to see the client workspace. So to be able to see a client workspace, you need to have, of course, first of all, access to this contract element, and be member of a role that has this capability can use client workspace.
Yep.
So that's important. We also have another capability for those who wants to provide other access to other persons. Then you also
extend
have to
access to the element,
which is very much aligned with how we do it in other modules.
Yep.
So by getting access to this element, you may or may not also get access to client workspace. That depends on if you are member of a role that gives you that access. So we have a better split now. Before you kind of it was tied to if you can represent client capability, but now yes, that was it
for this week. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for showing us, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.